Hi, hello everybody. Today is June the 3rd, and this is the regular weekly meeting for the Gateway API. Yeah, this is, as always, meeting regulated by the CSCF Code of Conduct. So yeah, just please be nice to each other. And yeah, as always, we have not a super packed agenda for today. But in the meantime, if you want to, let me share my screen first of all, because otherwise it's gonna be complex. Okay. Yeah, we are not gonna have a packed agenda, but if you want to write down your name here in the list of attendees, please do. Also, if you want to share your video, if you want to turn on your camera, you're very welcome to do it. Otherwise, it's not a big deal. And yeah, I guess we can get started. Unless someone new wants to introduce themselves. I don't know if there is someone who is completely new to this kind of community.
I guess I'll have an intro for those I didn't speak to at KubeCon. Um,
Yeah, sure, please.
so I'm Adrian. I started getting involved in Kubernetes at KubeCon EU last year in Paris. Um, Got drawn to SIG network and SIG auto scaling because at work we do VPN HPA stuff, and that's kind of cool. And my first job was at an ISP, so I enjoy networking things. We also happen to have bugs at work that related to those two SIGs, so it was a great space for me to get involved. Then this year at KubeCon, um, the the kind of the kind of surprise to me was um, with Ingress Nginx going away, the path forward for us isn't very good. It's not well developed yet. And as a user, I'm hoping to bring input into that process. And I'm also in my personal capacity and some work capacity, actually try and help push that ball forward. Um, so something I'm doing at the moment at work now is trying to understand the Ingress Nginx annotations that we're using, how it relates to Gateway API, which ones we care about, which ones we don't, that kind of thing. So being in South Africa and in this time zone, I plan to be a monthly.
Excellent. At at KubeCon in London, I'm really not trying to create more work for you. I'm just trying to refresh my memory. Do I remember that you had volunteered to actually supply some written stuff about which annotations are critical and things like that? Or am I completely misremembering and I just had not had enough coffee or something?
I don't remember saying that,
Okay, then I just didn't have enough
but
coffee, and I'm sorry.
right. I mean, it is what I'm doing at work. I'm looking at our annotations. I'm trying to figure out which ones are important to us.
Hmm.
Also, what are we using? What's important to us? And then what is the status in Gateway API? Some of the things Gateway API is hard no. Some of them
Yeah.
it's yes, there's a plan. Some of them not decided yet. So I'm busy working through it. So I'm happy to share that if you want it.
I
Um,
I cannot put into words how much I would love to see that.
okay, it's a work in
Yeah.
progress. So when I'm done, I'll share it with you. I'll
Yeah.
make myself a
That
reminder.
that would be wonderful.
Cool.
Anybody else who's new
Yeah.
and wants to say hi?
Yeah, I'm Arihant. I work at Broadcom from India. So right now it's almost nighttime here. So I am have started working at some Gateway API implementation. So I will plan to be a monthly here to add my contributions.
Cool.
Cool. Is your implementation already publicly available? Is it something that we can take a look at, or it's just is still private and in progress?
I think it is in progress. I I have not updated, I think, socials yet. Regularly, it's not updated. So I
Yeah, all
will
right.
try. Yeah,
Just curious. Oh, nice to meet you.
same here.
Likewise.
All right. If we are complete, agendas for my camera switching on and off. I don't know why it's not working well today. The first item is, I guess, a recap from the Gateway API 1.4 status. Rob, Shane, I don't know
Yeah.
what's up.
Or actually, Shane, yeah, if you're here,
Yeah, I'm here.
have at it.
Yeah, so basically, it's just, oh, what's going on with my stuff here? Can you hear me?
We can hear
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
We cannot see
Okay.
you, but we can hear
Yeah,
you.
I can't get my camera to work all of a sudden. Yeah, basically, it's just
Zoom,
we're moving
man.
into, we're moving into kind of, getting started on the actual GEPs and stuff like that. The big thing here is going to be the experimental GEPs. We have a very specific timeline in mind for those because they take a lot of time and kind of need to be coordinated more so than the standard ones because those can be in different places. For instance, backend TLS policy is a lot further along than some of the other ones. So this has, if you're doing an experimental GEP, if yours was accepted, please read this. It basically kind of spells out the timeline, the expectations, stuff like that. If you have questions or concerns, let one or all of us maintainers know. If you have a standard GEP that is trying to transition, or rather a GEP that's trying to transition to standard during this cycle, you should have a specific comment on your GEP kind of saying like what needs to happen next and that sort of thing based on where yours is at.
Sorry, where should that gap live? Sorry, that comment live? Like on the issue?
All of these GEPs, standard or experimental targeting, all have a comment on them from me, basically kind of pointing out what's next and what you need to be doing, what your
Okay,
timeline is.
on the issue itself.
On the issue itself.
Right, okay.
All experimental ones need to look at this timeline because we're going to be fairly strict about it. Standard will be a little different, so they all have they all have their own where they're at and stuff like that. So those don't have a specific timeline necessarily in terms of like exactly when something needs to happen, but things do need to turn around fairly quickly because we can't be reviewing up to the last moment.
Awesome. Thanks
All
for
right.
setting this up. I think
Yes.
we're learning and evolving as we go here with what works and what doesn't for release cycle. But I think this is really nice to see it all laid out this way and have the comments on the issues, etc. But yeah, just in case you missed it, June 10 is like a week from now. So please do not miss this. Get your PR in. This is not defining the details of the API spec. This is defining what it is you're trying to achieve in more detail. So things like goals and non-goals.
And that's a really important point that is also emphasized right there in right below that table as well. Don't put a bunch of Go code or API spec in your first iteration. It will swamp it just naturally.
Yeah.
Let us get figured out that we want the thing, like a basic idea that we agree on what the goals are and stuff like that. And maybe the who is added there is like who all wants to kind of be involved and say who's a stakeholder / a reviewer. Get that stuff figured out first. That is doable between now and June 10th. If you add a bunch of Go code or spec, I can almost guarantee you it's not gonna make it. It's not gonna swamp. It's gonna swamp hard before that June 17th timeline. And then after June 24th, or rather after June 17th, effectively, you basically have like a month and a half to get that how figured out. To go from the we agree on what we're doing is merged to how we're actually going to do it. You got 6 weeks effectively to figure that out before we start saying everybody needs to get on implementation.
Yep.
If at any point, so we're trying to be pretty clear about timelines and stuff like that. We're going to probably do more and more of this as the releases come out, because ideally we'd like to get to, I don't know if we will next year or not, but we'd like to get to be doing more releases. So if you run into any, like, you just feel stressed out by this, or like you're confused or you don't know what to do, Don't get stuck. Just let us know, like reach out. We want to talk to you about it. We don't want you to feel like everything here is like, wow, this is so quick. I don't even feel like I can get done. We don't want you to quit on your GEP. So don't do that. Just talk to us first. This is a learning process for us too, to try to get the right, feng shui with these releases.
Yeah, I mean, part of the balance here is we don't want it to be quite as painful if you miss out on a release too. If you miss a release and you have to wait a year for another one, that's awful. Whereas if it's 4 months or something, like maybe that's not quite as painful. But that if 4 months is our goal, then that requires each phase of the release being pretty short and quick.
Yeah, it would be nice to get to that point where like a couple of GEPs missing on the release that they were accepted for is kind of normal, and it's not a big deal. It's because we release 3 times a year. So I agree.
Just one thing that I would like to stress out is this new approach that we are using here, which is we have a deadline for opening the PR, but actually to have the PR ready for review and to have the PR merged, which is something that is super useful to avoid having like a PR opened, I don't know, 1 week before the actual deadline, and everything gets super messy because we have to do all the things in a hurry, and it's super complex for everyone. So yeah, I think that having this kind of doubled, this kind of paired deadlines, I think it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, we'll
Even
see.
worse,
I guess that everything is to be evaluated because this is the first time that we are trying to be, this structured, I guess. And thank you for Shane for putting all this together.
Yeah. Even worse, of course, it wasn't one PR coming in a week before the deadline. It was all the PRs coming in a week before the deadline.
Yeah.
Hi, I have one question. I hope you can hear me because I have a problem with Zoom. So my
We can
question is
hear
about
you.
Oh, that's great. My question is about conformance test. Where is the time actually to create the conformance test? I understand that it needs to be after the GEP is reviewed, but how does it look in the cycle?
Yeah, I mean, so I think you're talking about your backend TLS policy or other enhancements that are going
Probably,
to, or did I misunderstand? Sorry.
yes, I'm saying yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. And for that, we really haven't been very good with timeline, and that would be something to help with. We've generally just said, but before the release freeze, before we go into review, you need to have 3 implementations at minimum that are passing your conformance tests, among other things. But that is usually the biggest, longest pull, and that leaves some level of flexibility in how you get there. You could theoretically, finish your conformance test 2 days in advance and have all the implementations you need ready to pass those the next day, right? That's theoretically possible, but probably not helpful for anyone. That's very stressful for everyone involved. It would probably make sense to have some kind of intermediate guidelines like this, where we have milestones of, you should really try and have your conformance tests in here so implementations have a shot of passing them. But we have not set any dates yet. I don't know, Shane, what do you think as release manager or whatever we said for this release?
I think we have to think about it.
Okay.
And one follow-up question for we've got standard and external queues, and for experimental, sorry, and for experimental GEPs, conformance tests also needed, or only for if we promote something to standard?
Yeah, conformance tests are always nice to have. They are a hard requirement to get to standard channel. They're just nice to have in experimental channel.
Okay, great, thanks.
If you don't have the conformance tests when you go to experimental, you will probably find it much more difficult to get to experimental ultimately with something that other implementations could use, and you might find more risk of having to like revert things, because when you have other a conformance test and other implementations can check it out, you can get earlier feedback. So I would advise throwing conformance tests out as soon as you possibly can, so that you don't get that feedback late and then have to do a major redo of something because another implementation's like, oh, this doesn't work at all in our thing. We can support this, but only this way, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. And some implementations can also implement things a little bit differently as well. So that's where conformance test helps alignment.
Great, thanks.
All right. Anything else to discuss about the 1.4 planning?
Yeah, I should have added my name to it, but I added the one above, which I should put below, on behalf of Candace, but just a heads up, Candace did a lot of awesome work to get release blog post out for Gateway 1.3. And I really want to congratulate and thank the 4 implementations that had conformance reports submitted in time. I can't remember all of them offhand. I think Cilium, Envoy Gateway, Istio, and Airlock. Yeah, sweet. Yeah. And a reminder that if you are an implementer and want to get featured on the Gateway 1.4 blog post, we try and have around a month between release and this blog post getting out. So if you can look ahead on your calendars, I think that given the trajectory we have right now, September seems like the most likely date for Gateway 1.4. So if you can look in your calendars and see if that aligns with the release, and would love to see the list of implementations supporting Gateway very soon after release continue to grow. Sorry, go ahead, Candace.
Just one comment about the blog. It's helpful if you put something in your GEP that you might want to have excerpted later in the blog, for like examples that illustrate how things work. That's a lot easier to do and to highlight within the blog if you did something like this within your GEP. So I'm just gonna put it out there as a suggestion. I don't think it needs to be a requirement, but it's a nicer blog if there's content that is helpful for users. So if you add that to your GEP, it's helpful in the blog.
I would almost go as far as wanting to make that a requirement. I did the 1.2 blog post, and everything Candace just said, oh my God, it is so true. And trying to wrangle, you can go through and get the feature and say, oh, hey, here's a feature name. How do I explain this to people? And then you have to go and ping all the GEP authors and collect all this information and try to find a way, wait, what's the YAML for it? So yeah. So getting a Kubernetes blog out is painful enough without having to go and do a bunch of content wrangling. So yeah.
And it's only getting more painful.
I was very happy that you stepped up for the 1.3 post, because oh my God. Yeah. Anyway, Rob, you were about to say something.
Yeah, I was honestly amazed at how you managed to navigate that for another sub project I'm working on, the inference extension. Our blog post date ended up slipping by more than a month. It was really painful. So I don't know how you did it.
Nightmarish process.
I will try and learn from you next time.
I don't know. We can talk later if you want, but yeah. I didn't find that part of it too difficult. The part that was more difficult did come at the end, when all of a sudden it had to be changed into a draft, and kind of got stuck in the queue. And I was like, oh no, how long is this going to be stuck in the queue? But all I needed to do was just change the publication date within the blog and move it into another directory and rebase and do a couple of other things just to be with the standard. So I think Tim was being generous and helping me along with that as well. I don't know why, but I saw your blog on GIE and I thought it was great. Just throwing that out there.
Cool.
You should write a blog post on how to write a blog post, Candace.
Oh, they have.
Actually,
They do.
have. Yeah.
It's just a lot of steps and a lot of back and forth because they just have too many. People are using that channel all the time. So yeah, maybe we don't need one every release. It's good to have, but might not be a bad idea to have one maybe once a year or something. Who knows? But anyways, I suggest starting. So we want to do like a month after the release to have the blog ready. I'd say start when the release is ready. So you need a month.
I think what you did this time is you wrote the changelog as well, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I feel like that just naturally got you started on blog post as well. But yeah, I agree. It takes a lot of time to do both of those things. So thank you for taking those on this time.
You're welcome. No problem. The other reason I raised my hand earlier was that there's a question on here about Adrian who would like to be involved with reviewing GEPs and is looking for one that that needs review.
Well, yeah.
So if any,
with the thank you for bringing that up. With the work that I'm doing at work and realizing that I probably need to get involved with Gateway API, I thought since that GitHub issue with all the 1.4 planned issues were listed there, I wonder if there's like a specific this one will likely follow the happy path in terms of the process that I could just watch and kind of get an idea about the process.
Wait, we have a happy path?
You know what? Since you're coming from Ingress Nginx, there's what we call an Ingress pipeline, which is really intended to close some feature gaps with Ingress Nginx. I'm not saying either of the ones in there are going to follow a quote unquote happy path, but they would definitely benefit from review from someone who has used or is using Ingress Nginx to make sure that we're representing things well in Gateway API.
Cool. I'll check those out.
Cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
I think that makes a lot of sense too, because getting some review from somebody who's been working with the whole north-south chunk of Gateway API with GEPs that are trying to add functionality to the north-south chunk of Gateway API sounds like a great idea.
All right. Rob, the next one is yours again.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't really mine. I don't think John is here today, but I think his point is a good one. We have accumulated an enormous list of implementations, and very few of them have bothered to submit a conformance report more than years after conformance existed. And so some of them especially are pretty early in state or haven't been updated. So John's idea, I don't think this diff is specifically what he's aiming for immediately, but he is aiming to get to something like this. And I think it's a reasonable direction, if not, something like we can switch immediately. One of the ideas that I threw in the comments below here is, what if starting at some point in the near future, we require all new implementations on this list to be paired with a conformance report. And then we set a date a bit further in the future where all existing implementations without a conformance report are removed from the list.
I would completely support that.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree as well.
And it's all in the details here. What does a good enough conformance report mean here? Is it a conformance report for the I don't think we can do the absolute latest version as a requirement, but just a conformance report covering one of the most recent 3. I don't know. I don't know exactly how we want to do it. I don't know how much time is enough notice. But I am supportive of this direction. And if anyone has strong opinions, especially if you represent an implementation that doesn't have a conformance report on here yet, please leave your comments.
I represent an implementation that I thought we had already removed from the list. And so irrespective of this, I will put in a proposal to remove it from the conformant list.
Cool. And this is to
do-
clarify, this is the entire list of implementations, and we don't make any comment whether they're conformant or not. Like the ones that are conformant get a little badge beside them, but this is basically just saying if you don't have that conformant badge, you just don't get anything.
I just realized that to make certain that what I just said is clear, Linkerd is not the implementation I'm talking about. Linkerd has Linkerd will be submitting a conformance report for 1.3 standard once I finish getting a couple of ducks in a row over here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, Linkerd will still be.
Is it my time in this meeting worth the time, man? Just to hear that from you. I'm excited.
I still want to talk to you a little bit, Laura, to make sure that, I'll talk to you offline. I want to make certain that all of your work on mesh conformance is reflected in the tests that I'm actually running. And I think they are, but I would like to double check that with you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Something that I would like to make clear is when you say, Rob, when you say that in order to be present in this list, you should submit a conformance report. I guess we would be open to accept like partial conformance to implement for implementations that maybe they are just in the path to have a complete and good conformance, but they want to be in this page, but they are not conformant yet. I mean, I guess we have to clearly define what's the boundary here.
Yeah. I mean, we basically just need someone to take a shot at what makes sense here. I would rather start with a relatively high bar and work backwards from there if needed. But if we start with a fairly loose set of requirements, then those will only get looser over time.
I would also add that this kind of things is sometimes a little bit sensitive. So I would also make that from first attempt or maybe like a very early iteration of this proposal, we should probably do an automation to do it. So there's no like all people needs to remember to do this manual cleanup or stuff and trying to just look at like maybe 3, 4, and then there is a bot that opens up the argument. I mean that will standardize some stuff.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. Redirect codes. What is this about?
Yeah, this is also mine. It is one that I thought was interesting. It is on the border of, is this a GEP update or really just a bug fix? I tend to say it's, I guess, a feature, but a feature that's small enough that doesn't require any kind of paperwork or, GEP process. It seems overdue to add a couple more status codes here. So yeah, I just want to make sure that if this gets approved, there's no surprises and no one wants more process on this one.
There's a doc question about this. Not, this is an example of a place where we have some doc questions, right? Where I think this change looks fine. I don't actually know off the top of my head where we document which status codes can be used on a redirect. I know that the GEP said at some point that these are the ones you could use, and now we're changing that. So should we update the GEP? Is there a doc page that needs to be part of this PR? What's the right way to handle that?
I don't think we typically go back and update GEPs after the fact. At least I can think of several examples where we have not done that.
Yeah, I don't think we do either. I think that we unfortunately sometimes forget to update the docs too. And I'm not when's the last time, raise your hand if you have recently tried to go through and get documentation on how to use a chunk of Gateway API and had no recourse but to go drill down all the way into the Golang descriptions in the code base, because that was the only way to find out what was going on. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of hands
all the time.
Yeah.
Wait, is that not how?
That's a problem, people.
No,
we should do
it's
better
a feature.
No, it's a problem. I will fight you on this, Shane. I don't actually have to fight Shane on this. Shane is just trying to mock me because that's what Shane does.
I'm just being funny. I'm not mocking.
So yeah, there is a doc question here. I would really like to see the user-facing docs updated with this change.
So this is another thing. We should absolutely do that. I took a quick look at our redirect docs and it shows examples of 301, I think 302, but there is nothing in there that I can see that has a list of these are the only codes you can use.
Yeah.
So anyone who tries to use a different code like 307 is just going to be met with some error and be annoyed at the world.
Well, we hope they will be met with an error. And in this case,
no, they are.
Since it's part of validation, they will be met with an error. Yes. There are other places where I think it will just silently fail, elsewhere in the system. And so, yeah, we should, or fail in some other way. We should document stuff like that. So that would be my only real feedback on this. Let me go put a comment on the PR itself.
I mean, do we want to guard it with a feature flag? I mean, I feel like 301 and 302 are commonly supported. Would 307 and 308 be commonly supported?
I don't think a feature flag is necessary because it's loosening the validation to additionally allow those rather than expecting only those instead.
I think what he's asking is this expands conformance tests. So if you claim support for redirects, it means starting in 1.4, you would need to also support 307 and 308. So you could theoretically differentiate in the sake, for the sake of conformance tests for 307 and 308. As far as I know, 307 and 308 are very widely supported now.
When you say you would also need, wouldn't it be at the discretion of the implementation of which one the implementation is returning?
Well, right now it's all bundled in a single feature that is I support redirects.
And it's core. You cannot opt out from it, right? So the moment this PR gets in, it means that everyone who is going to run the conformance tests is going to fail if they don't support 307 and 308.
Mike, the salient part of the change is that it updates the conformant test to require that you support 307 and 308. So if you have an implementation that only supports 301 and 302 and is passing conformance, then once this changes and the conformance test updates, you will no longer pass core conformance. Now, honestly, that's kind of a reason to do this as an experimental thing with a GEP, et cetera, so that you get through there. Yeah, Rob, I see you rolling your eyes, but talk me out of it, right? That's
No,
what
man.
the experimental process is for.
We don't get
Man,
for it.
Flynn, you're fighting today.
I don't. It's an interesting one, right? I don't personally think that there are a lot of implementations out there that don't support pretty much arbitrary redirect codes. So in this particular case, I don't think it's going to be a big problem. But it's fascinating to think about, okay, how can we be sure that it's not going to be a big problem? What is the right thing to do here, given that in ways, whatever we do here sets some precedent for, oh, this is a small change. We can just sneak it into core in standard and it'll be fine. And it's a thing we should think about.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think we should be careful here. I
hate the idea of doing a get for this. Let's be clear.
No,
But what do you
I think
like?
maybe the middle ground is what I think Lior may have been suggesting is let's call it a different feature. Let's give that feature some different expectations. And hopefully, maybe in this release it's a different feature, and then in the following release it just merges into the overall redirect feature because, whatever.
Yeah. And I would be okay with that, because at that point we could, we can test it separately. We can say that new feature is extended for a while, but will become core on such and such a date. And that might still warrant a GEP, but it might be a GEP to the tune of, we're introducing this new feature, and as of 1.5, it will be in core. Speak now or forever hold your peace. I don't think that would be a hard thing to get written out.
Yeah.
Okay. I think let's just say
on the PR.
Okay. Great. Thanks, Lior.
Thank you.
I'm also going to call out that we all unanimously agreed it does not need a gap.
I am on team no gap, but I am definitely supportive of a separate feature, at least to start here, so it's a bit less disruptive for implementations.
All right. I guess Lior,
Lior,
you had some LGTMs.
I LGTM'd one of yours, which I now realize has a failing lint, which you should fix. So that's 3827. What are the other two?
Yeah, I'm going to send the other two if I get agreement to review.
I will look at them both if you send me the numbers. I will look at it while we finish the call.
No, I'm saying I would actually go ahead and implement that if you're okay with reviewing it today. Otherwise, I'll spend my time.
How long do you think it'll take to implement?
Probably you get a PR in an hour.
Okay, I can commit to reviewing a PR that's up in an hour.
Thank you.
Sorry, that's less. I'll only do it if you're really fast, and more looking at the calendar for the rest of the day.
That's okay. I'm only doing it if you review it, so we're fine.
We're even. Yeah, fine.
All right.
The next one is also me. Yeah, I wanted to. Yeah, I mean, we could. I wanted let's spend a little bit of time on it. Like, Mattia, maybe you could start. Like, you had some ideas or something you wanted to. I don't know. Maybe write a gap or maybe talk about supported features. Right now, I'm working with another contributor on actually making the change to read conformance from supported features. We have been discussing on this for a while now, I think more than a year. So yeah, hopefully we're gonna get this stuff in. And it's also marked as one of the features that's gonna be graduated standard. So yeah, if anyone has any feedback, let me know.
If I can add a couple of things on top of it. I think the problem here is kind of double folded. The first one is what Lior is saying. So instead of providing the whole bunch of features to the Conforma suite machinery through either the CLI flags or options, whatever, the idea is to read the supported features by the implementations from the gateway class status. But this requires two things. The first one is that supported feature needs to be graduated. And the second one is that supported features needs to be part of the core conformance, because otherwise we cannot use it as a mandatory for running the conformance suite, right? So I think both of them are required here.
What's the second one? For the first one, I think what we agreed is that we're gonna have a gradual thing where, like, right now it gets in is like opt-in flag for like, okay, read from supported features, and then in the next release we're like, okay, we're deprecating, like it's not by a flag. The conformance suite actually reads from supported features.
Wait, wouldn't if supported features is going GA in this release, wouldn't we want to require conformance reports to use it? Or
the problem is that even if the supported features goes GA, it's still an extended feature today. Is that correct?
No, it should be core.
It should be core. This is what I'm saying, right? It should be core conformance.
Who said where's it documented? It's an extended feature. I don't think we have a supported feature for supported features. So a feature name for supported features. Like, I don't recall documented. It's an extended feature. I think we were all like kind of communicating very clearly that we are anticipating all of the implementations. We need to implement that. They even called it on stage, like for UX improvements type of stuff. If there's any mention that I mentioned it's extended, reference it to me because I don't remember.
Yeah, honestly, I cannot recall, but yeah, if the only thing that's important to me is that we all are on the same page that it has to be a core feature. So honestly, I don't recall about it. This is set as extended somewhere.
I think Candace has a good point here, that the supported version feature feels like it's, well, I don't know if this is specifically Candace's point, but the point in that she links to, I think, is suggesting that maybe supported version is not quite GA ready or not thought out enough. You know, one of the things that I think is lacking in supported version is the idea that, you know, what if different CRDs have, you support some of them and the others, like we don't really handle the idea that you have like an old gRPC route from 1.0. And I don't know, right? That should be supported. But for example, you have mismatched CRD versions or something like that. I feel like there's still some things we haven't really properly covered there. And it seems like supported features can graduate independently from that, right? Or
okay. I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I mean, the one thing that's not covered with supported features, which may be weird, but I would think it's not a P0 thing, like it's not priority 0 to solve, is that you may have one implementation in the cluster that's and then you install another version of this implementation, I don't know, for a reason of upgrade, whatever, and then you have two different versions, but some of them support X and some of them support Y, but theoretically they reconcile the same class. But I would think it's an edge case and not requiring any immediate action, but I could be convinced otherwise.
Cool, sounds good.
Another thing related to the supported features is something that Nick and I have been talking about a while ago. Basically, one of the problems that we have today with the features is that the information is scattered across multiple places, because we have the tags in the Go structs, and then we have the feature field in the Go code. And every time a feature is updated, is graduated, we have to take care of updating both places, because there is no single source of truth for the features. So something that could be nice to have is to basically create a single source of truth for the features, which can be in the Go code, and reference the features via JSON tags. So basically you have feature X, you reference the feature by feature name, and all the information such as the maturity, the fact that the feature is extended or core, is taken from the feature metadata in the Go code, which becomes the source of truth for all the features of the Gateway API. This is something that could, let's say, reduce the amount of problems that we have today when graduating features and always forgetting something to be updated.
Yeah, that's
There you
great.
go.
I mean, if you have any, if you had, I think you said you're gonna open an issue or something about it, we can collaborate on it there.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, the idea was to open like first of all an issue and then a memorandum gap, because it's not like a matter of, a new feature that we are implementing in the Gap API. This is just a matter of how we organize our code base and our structure of the code, right? So yeah, I'll start opening an issue about it. All right. Dave, listener sets. Are you here, Dave?
Yeah, just a quick question. If anyone here is starting or thinking about doing listener sets, I know Istio has a draft PR somewhere. Just trying to
Could
gauge on it.
Actually, could I interrupt for a moment? I'm going to have to drop in just a minute. Could we invert, if we want to talk about Danion's message on Slack with a 1.3 patch, could we talk about that for just a minute and then go back to you, Dave? You okay with that?
I guess if you're doing listener sets, can you just add your implementation name to the meeting notes? That's all I need. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, do we want to do a 1.3.1?
I don't think Danny's here.
Say again?
I don't think he's here.
Danion is not here.
Oh yeah.
Has anybody
okay.
Yeah, has anybody looked at the
wasn't a question. Okay.
Yeah, has anybody looked at the possibility of doing a 1.3.1? Does anybody think that that is particularly appropriate? I have not yet gone through to look to see what the bugs are or anything like that, so I have no opinion here, but it seems like something that's worth looking at if we have bug fixes.
Maybe defer this to the next meeting. Seems
Sounds
like
good to me.
Yeah, it seems like it'd take a little while to do.
Is someone in this meeting have any bug fixes they're aware?
I was going to try to go back and look to see what had been merged, but I don't. Like, I remember the bugs that prompted us to do 1.1.1 and 1.2.1, and I don't remember hearing about anything like that after 1.3, but maybe I'm just misremembering.
I'll research it for the next meeting.
I would appreciate that. I will try to do the same, but I'm not sure I'm going to be able to for real.
I'll take a look. I remember following the link that he posted and I didn't see anything, so I'm going to have to use a different link. I think we skipped this topic, but it was Rob's. But I can give an update on it if anybody's interested. The backend TLS policy.
I am interested, but I have to run. So if you talk about it, I will check the notes after.
Okay.
So thanks, everybody. Sorry to skip out on backend TLS policy, Candace. I will see y'all in a couple weeks, if not before.
Yeah, take care.
You too.
Thanks.
See you. Bye-bye.
Candace, do you want to talk about this one right now or in the next one, since it's Rob item?
I did see Katarzyna here, and I believe that she was interested in maybe
cool.
taking a look at it. So I can, hi Katerina, am I pronouncing your name right? Sorry, I had to join a little bit late. I can't hear, but anyways, so back in TLS policy, the normative conformance test works now. The pull request itself needs some refactoring, some restructuring. It includes updates to the Echo Basic server, which needs to be built first so that that version can be included in the updates to the rest of the conformance tests. So I'm going to split those things out into 2 different PRs. And then we can, once this is polished up, I think that we can do some further conformance tests for backend TLS policy. And then the GAP itself needs needs some updates. I believe that we never put the actual API in, and so we'll put the actual API in the GAP, and that will probably need a review. And then Shane, you had asked about me getting some reviewers for this, and S. Norwin, I don't know, I forgot his first name, but Snorwin is his GitHub handle, has agreed to review, and a couple of other people, and I posted that.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I think that's the update that I can give for that.
I saw your message, Candace, today or yesterday or a couple of days ago, I don't remember, on Slack about the fact that the GAP has been updated like a couple of times, and to me it looked like you may use some help. Do you need some help actually to move this one on, or you are good to go?
There were some people who agreed to do conformance
I can't
tests.
hear you. I don't know if it's you or me.
Can you hear me now? Hello? Well, I'm
Anyone
not
hear
muted.
Candace? Is it me?
I can hear you, Candace. And I can hear you, Mattia.
Oh,
I
it's
can hear you both fine.
Thank you. I was hoping there wasn't something wrong because my mute's not pressed. Anyways, we
can
can
hear
follow
you
up.
now. I don't know what. Yeah,
Oh.
okay.
Okay. Yes, so there are hopefully some people who can help with the conformance tests. The normative one is done, and I'm hoping that it serves as an example. Maybe some people from my team at my company can help out too. We'll see. But I think there was an outstanding issue about some of the backend TLS policy updates that have been added after the list for the conformance test was written. So, I have that list of conformance tests in my mind, but then there were some changes made to the backend TLS policy since then. So we've been talking about whether those would be included in the standard release or not. We don't have to resolve it here, but I want to just bring it up if that's what Rob was talking about. Not sure.
Yeah. All right. Dave, listener said, is anyone implementing it? I guess this was your question.
Yeah. Besides Istio, I guess. Or
I
has
can
anyone?
speak for Kong. We didn't start yet. I would like to start. I don't feel comfortable in committing, honestly, but this is something that I will push for in the next months, probably, because this is
Yeah,
something.
like for me, I'm just trying to figure out, hey, should I start conformance this month or should I do it maybe in like August or something? That way, then people have something I can test against. Maybe it's one of those chicken and egg things. Like, I could write conformance now, but it'd be good to run against something that is supposed to support it. But I guess for your sake, Mattia, there's some GEPs that I need to GEP changes that I need to address. Like I have an outstanding PR out. Then I realize I also haven't updated the Go docs to correspond to the GEP changes, so I need to update that as well. I'll probably get through that this week, so that way you should be fresh and up to date for whenever you start looking at it.
All right, all right. Well, about conformance test, I think that maybe as an implementation, I like to have like maybe just a simple conformance test. Even a simple one is fine to, you know, to have like quick loop on implementing the feature. You know, you can just write something and run the conformance test and see where it breaks. So I think that having like even a super small set of conformance tests, even just one, can be super useful for implementations to start implementing the feature. This is just my point of view.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, we are over time. Thank you, everybody, and have a nice day, and see you next time.
Same to you.
Cheers.
Take care. Bye-bye.